This is a mechanical button, and today I want to talk about why it's so special. This is a gamer finger button, and today I want to talk about why it's so special. First of all, it's a mechanical button. It uses a mechanical MX switch, unlike the Sanwa button pictured on the left here that uses a plastic plunger. So what are the benefits of a mechanical switch like this? This is an MX Speed Silver. It means that using the MX Cherry platform, you could switch out this switch here pretty easily and pretty cheap. If something breaks internally, it wouldn't be very hard to find another MX switch. However, with something like this Sanwa button, where it's plastic on the inside and this switch is sort of just like a piece of plastic, right? If this breaks, usually you'd have to buy a new button. Also, with the Cherry MX and any other mechanical switches, you can customize the feel of the button a lot more. With the silvers, it's very fast and responsive. Maybe you want it more clicky or tactile, you could put blues in, or maybe you want it just a little bit more quiet, you could always go that route. And speaking of sound, let me give you a little bit of a comparison between the gamer finger buttons with the mechanical internals and the normal Sanwa buttons. Another thing to note is that these are installed in a stick already, right? So they're a little bit louder than they usually are, solo by themselves. These Sanwa buttons are even louder inside of this Hitbox because it's like plastic slapping on plastic, basically. And one more button that I want to compare it to is the Hori Hayabusa. Now, that's not to say that the louder buttons are inherently worse, but I think that a big drawing factor of mechanical switches is how quiet they are and how you don't have to really sacrifice the button feel as much. For example, if you want a silent 30mm Sanwa button, you can install these pads here. And I also have the 24mm pads because I really do like how the plastic buttons feel or how they felt when I was using them. They were just super loud. And when I installed these pads, it feels like a different button. It doesn't feel good at all, in my opinion, and it feels almost like the button's not going down all the way, and you're always having to second guess whether you're pressing hard enough and whether your action is actually going to go through. As well as the fact that some people just like that tactile feedback. They like the noise coming out of the buttons whenever you slap them, and I understand that. I like that too, but it just didn't work where I was living at the time, so I had to use these mechanical buttons, and I got used to them, and I think they're very good because they don't sort of flatten out over time. I sort of got that feel with some of these Sanwa buttons that the more you use them, the less tactile the feedback starts to become, and then you sort of have to switch them around. It almost felt like rotating your tires in your car whenever you go to the shop and you get your inspection and then you can get your tires rotated. It sort of felt like that. Every so often I was switching the buttons around to make sure that they were all getting used normally and evenly. Now let's talk a little bit about ease of use and installation. These gamer finger buttons, and I think maybe the crown ones as well, the other mechanical variant, are screw-on buttons. You basically plop this in over your plexi and then you go through the back and screw it on. This is a double-edged sword to me. It's supposed to be for convenience and it's supposed to make it easier so that those little flaps on the Sanwa buttons here, they don't break, right? Sometimes these little flaps like to break and then it's hard to reinstall them, but this is supposed to fix that issue. The only problem is you'll see on here this like 3D printed plastic screw-on piece. Sometimes it starts to shed in here, right? Or the threading gets messed up and it makes it really hard to screw on. And honestly, whenever you're wiring the buttons in, you might forget to screw this on and then you have to unwire the buttons, screw them on, and then rewire them. That's not an issue with the little clips here. So it's really personal preference and how well you treat your buttons. And your next question probably is, well, I'm sold on the gamer fingers and the mechanical switches. How do I get one? And unfortunately, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but these are unavailable pretty much anywhere. The only place you can get them is from third-party people reselling them or used ones that people are taking out of their stick. But all hope is not lost if you want to try mechanical buttons, which is the main thing that I wanted to cover in this video, not just gamer finger buttons. That's why I sort of took it out of its housing right there. You can always get the crown buttons, the crown/Samduxa SB201s or the 202M. It has the MX switch in it, and you can get pretty much the same experience with the same plastic top that you're probably used to from the Sanwa buttons. So if you're in the market for something new, maybe you want a new button or to try out something a little quieter, I hope this helped you. If it did, consider subscribing, and I'll see you again tomorrow.